Hello, I'm Annie Marie, and I am here ready to show you how I edit my fine art portraits from start to finish. Let's do this! Well, hello, this is Annie, and I wanted to kind of just take you with me as I edit this image. It's a fine art image. I brought in one of my high school seniors that had this amazing look to her, and freckles and kind of reddish hair, and I wanted to work with her and get some sort of more of a fine art look with a whimsical nature to it. So this is just one that I had chosen. This isn't the main one that we went in shooting. I'm hanging on to that one for future use, but this is a pretty fun one, and it's got some elements in it that I really wanted to show you as we edit. So the first thing that I do when I edit is I kind of crop to where I want it, where I think I want the end result to be, so that I'm working with all the pixels that are going to be included. So so for cropping, I am going to hit my C for crop, and I've got 16 by 24 up here, and I think I want this one more wider, so I'm going to go with a 16 by 20. Let's see here, because I'm going to expand the edges a little bit. Actually, I'm going to take away the 20 because I don't have to stick with any specific size. I go by what I like in the image. So I have her pretty much centered. I'm going to get more area over this side, more area on this side. We're going to click content aware up here on the top, and we're going to hope that that works, and if not, we can do content aware fill, or if you're working in the new Photoshop, you can do generative fill. I don't have that on my computer yet because my computer is very slow and it doesn't have a lot of memory, and so I'm afraid to put that in. So as you can see, the content aware usually does a great job. It did not this time. So what we're going to do is I'm hit my marquee tool. I'm going to marquee this, right click on my mouse, fill, content aware, and this one usually does a pretty good job. I'm going to do that same thing on this side. Fill, content aware. And D, get rid of those. I'm going to flatten the image. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get my brightness and darkness set, because a lot of times other things rely on that. So that's the first thing I do. So you can do by curves. I usually do levels, holding down the option key. And so it's her face, the flowers in her hands. So all pretty much lightens the same. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to save that. Blacks are pretty dark. Yeah, blacks are pretty dark. So we're going to just leave those. All right. So now the first thing I'm going to do, there's so many different things I want to do on this. I'm just going to tell you kind of what I want to do. Obviously in her face, I want to clean up the under her eye, brighten her eye. Her eyes are literally sort of this kind of honey green color that matches so perfectly the background and stuff. So that's I'm excited about. I'm going to clean up the hairs here. I'm going to probably try to clean up this. Definitely tone down the green. I knew when I put that green dress on her that it was just too bright and too yellow. So I'm going to make that more subtle to kind of match the greens in the background. I'm going to do some liquify and yeah, kind of play around with it and see what we can get with it. So let's start. Oh, that hair on that chest is going to be not fun. Oh my goodness, that's going to be hard. What I would probably do is go in and get another image, maybe where it's not on her chest like that, and just kind of copy and paste, and I might go in and see if I can do that. But let's go in, and I always work on a separate layer. So Command J, and then you can use different things for blemishes. For just a few blemishes, I usually use the, you can go up here. I use the patch tool. But you can also use the healing brush. But I like the patch tool. I feel like I have more control over it. So I'm just gonna get a few of these, and don't want to take any of her freckles away. Love those freckles. There's a few blemishes. A lot of times people say, well, how do you tell the difference between freckles and blemishes? And usually blemishes are redder, and also blemishes will they're like raised, and so they'll leave a little shadow around them. So that's kind of how I can tell. And then for this part, since we're on another layer, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of sample and just kind of bring it down to another part that is less kind of reddish purple, maybe has some freckles in it. That looks good. You can always go out and just kind of, and I'll probably lighten that up yet again a little bit when I'm in Dodge and Burn. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the spot healing tool, and I use that on fine hairs to get rid of all these fine hairs. Now sometimes, you know, if you're working for competition prints, you're going to want to take some time and get all these fine hairs. If it's for a client, you might not have to be as meticulous. But if they're commissioning you for a fine art piece, you're going to want it. Let me get this one little line here. You're going to want to fine tune it as much as you can. And this doesn't take too long going through and getting some of those fine hairs. Let me get some of these dark ones up on top. Sometimes you have to go over it a couple times. Sometimes you do it and you kind of need to go and do patch over it or something. But we're going to see how much we can get done with that. I'm going to get this one that goes crossways. Sometimes I get crossways hairs that kind of catch the light in the hair, and like spots like this I'll kind of get. Outside hairs, I'll make my thing a little bit bigger. Get a few of these. You can also clone. Sometimes I just clone that out, but if I'm already in this tool, sometimes I'll go in and grab a few of those. I had a hair dryer on her, fan, hair dryer, blow dryer, whatever you want to call it, on her. So there's some hairs that are kind of a little wild and crazy on the outside. All right. So I think that looks pretty good there. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can separate that above and below the leaf. Let's get as much out of here as we can. I make it a little bit bigger. All right. While I'm here, so here, let me see. You can see what I've done. So I got rid of blemishes, some of those spine hairs. And then while I'm in the separate layer, while we're up here, I'm gonna get the eye sparkle. That's my action. And what I do is I go over just the iris with 100% white brush. Sometimes I hit the highlight, but if the highlight's kind of bright like this, I don't hit it again. You do want the highlight of the eyes to be brighter than the iris, otherwise it looks like you're bottom lighting it. But I still want to look at the color. Isn't that amazing? So as without, it just adds life to the eyes. And in this one, I'm going to have it a little bit brighter than I probably would if I'm just doing this for the client, where eye color is like super, you know, they don't want it too bright. But for fine art, this one I want a little bit brighter, just because I do want that color to mimic the background. Okay. Flatten that. All right, I am going to go in and see if I have another one that's kind of similar, where she's standing There's none where she's standing forward. I didn't take many with this. And they're all like that. So what I could do, we're just gonna try to do it organically. And you're gonna come along the ride with me. Well, I'm gonna put this together with this one. You're gonna watch me sweat here, but that's all good. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, Command J, I'm gonna do a new layer and I'm gonna use patch to start with. Kind of get some of these outside ones. And I kind of wanna bring it into an area on her chest where she does have some freckles, and you don't want it just to be just plain. You wanna, I'll work on that in a little bit. You have to make sure when you do patch that you don't get any cloning patch, like duplication, because that in print competition, they'll call you out on that. Okay, all right, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna Command J again, get another layer, and this time I'm gonna clone stamp. So I hit the S tool and I am at 100%, and I am just going to kind of clean up along the edge here. Yeah, this is going to be hard to make natural, but we're going to do our best. I think I want 40%. And then that way I can just kind of build. And like here's a shadow, so you want to kind of clone utilizing that shadow. I'm going to come up here, grab that. Oh, that didn't work out. Command Z. Let's see here. I'm going to try to go along that one hair. I'm gonna go back to my patch tool because cloning kind of takes away some of that texture. If I can, like, I'm trying to follow this hairline here because you want it kind of a natural. The hair is so hard because there's like no beginning and no end. It's just when it's a blob, like it just mess like that, it's just really difficult to get it to look natural. Now see here, I'm gonna show you. This line is repeated here and here and here. So that I have to take care of. You have to be really careful with all that. So then I'm just going to patch that to over there, patch some of this to over here, get in there with my stamp tool. The stamp, and there's also a freckle there that I see is being duplicated. So I'm just going to go in there like that. Get my patch again. Take away some of those. All right, I think I'm gonna kind of leave it where it is. This looks kind of dark in here, so I'm gonna do another patch, bring it a bit lighter. Sometimes when you're close in like this, it's harder to even see what you're doing, so you have to kind of go out. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I can see some duplication in there. Sometimes the more you work on something, the worse it gets, but let's take a look at, oh, it's shifted. Ah. I duplicated, I must have shifted it or something. There we go. Okay, so there's before and there. Oh, that's my secondary one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two together in a group, and that way we can turn the group on and off. Before and after, before and after. Okay, I'm okay with that. Alrighty. So now what I want to do, her hands, you can see all these different kind of color tones. So her hands are redder than her chest, and her face is kind of different colors. I noticed that her nose, tip of her nose is redder. And I've noticed that with the other images that I edited of her. So what I'm going to do, since the lasso tool is too tiny, it doesn't catch, I have it at 100%. I'm going to just duplicate, take the marquee, Command J, then I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to Command U. So I'm going to work with hue saturation. So basically what I'm going to do is work with my reds, and we're going to make them a little bit yellow. We're going to actually saturate, and we're going to lighten it because it's a little bit there. Preview. That looks better. Okay. And then we have to add a mask. And then what we're going to do is with the black brush, we're going to, you know, erase it around the edges. Erase off the flower there. Go back, and then we can kind of see how we got rid of that red and brightened it up just a little bit, just so it matched a little bit more. Okay, so her hands are redder than her chest. So her chest is kind of yellow. Her hands are kind of red. So what we're going to do, we're going to lasso her hands. We're not going to worry about other tones around her because we're going to be working with reds. So I'm not really worried about that green. We're going to might be working with yellows, but we can always mask. Okay, so now I'm on this layer. So what I have to do is click back to this layer. Let's see, we're going to Command U again. And we are going to go to reds, and then we're going to just click the hue up to yellow just a little bit. We're up 8. Let's go up 7. Let's see, preview. We're going to go maybe 5. I took out that red. All right, we're going to flatten it. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to get Command U, and this time we're going to go to yellows, and we're going to maybe take down the don't want saturation. We're going to change the tone, maybe. There we go. Brought that down 3. Saturation we brought down a little bit, so let's preview that. It's just such a slight change, but it took some of that yellow, kind of greeny yellow out. And it could be have that green cast in there because of the flower and her dress. So we're gonna save that. All right, so at this point, I'm going to save this as -2. And you want to kind of save as you're working, because in the event that your computer should say I'm done, it will just turn off if you have a computer like mine, and you don't want that. Anyways, okay, so now we're going to go into, we're going to make another layer. We're going to do Command Shift X, probably Control Shift X if you're on a PC. We're going to do some liquefying. So when I liquefy, what I do is I go here, do the freeze tool, and I just kind of freeze the face. And we're on another, did I do another layer? Hang on, I don't think I did. Did I? Yes, I think I have another layer. I see it over there. I always do this on a second layer because I do a lot of masking off. So I'm gonna, just what I want to freeze. So we're gonna work with her hair and give her hair some more body. So what I like to do is where there's a curl, I like to accentuate the curl. Here hers got curls all the way around. Yeah, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to get rid of that that whitish line. I think it's her shoulder, but so I'm going to bring this hair, and I've got a pretty big brush for this just because I don't want that background to look as smushed, and if the bigger the brush. So see how I'm kind of grabbing hairs, that flower's kind of messing with my mojo over there, but that's fine. I like to move more pixels so they don't look so stretched. And then with the dress, I think what I want, I like when the bottom is wider. So I'm gonna go down here, kind of stretch some of those. And her hands, arms are fine. Let's click OK. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a mask on, and with a little black brush, I'm gonna get rid of that because that was bothering me. Okay. Now we're gonna kind of click back and forth, and you can see, I love when their hair is full. And with that background, I didn't have to worry about it looking smushed. And if it did look smushed, if there was like something back there with lines, I would just go in with my black brush and paint that away, but I think it looks fine. Yeah, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna flatten that. Now we're gonna work on this dress color and the leaves. So what I'm gonna do is on another layer, Command J, I am going to, I think there's different ways to work with color. There's so many different ways. You can go into the adjustment layers and work with selective color. I'm going to work with my hue set. So Command U. And I'm not going to worry about what it's doing to her skin tones, what it's doing in the background, because we're going to mask. So basically, I'm going to bring yellows down because I see a lot of yellow. I don't like a lot of yellows in my green. So we're going to bring the yellows down a little bit. Oh, that's saturation. Yeah, saturation of the yellows. Let's see if we want to change this kind of blue. Let's start with that. You can always go back in and play with it. So we're gonna do a mask. Now you can do two things with masks. One is you can put the white mask on and then paint around where you don't want the color. What I like to do is hit Command I, and then with the white brush, paint in. So that's what I'm gonna do. And don't worry about going, messing up, because you always just, like if you go over the hand and you take out too much yellow, you just go in, hit the X button, and then just go in and paint it back where you messed up. So, oops. So we're just gonna go in, I'm gonna have a little bit bigger brush. Now her hair has yellows in it, so I'll kind of stay away from her hair. These leaves are definitely too bright and yellow. I just don't like bright yellow leaves and stuff. This isn't bad up there. That's kind of okay the way it is. I thought that flower was so cool when I saw it. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a perfect kind of gold flower. All right, so here's before and after. Definitely like that a lot better. Very cool. All right, flatten. All right, I am going to attempt, I don't like these wrinkles in there, so that is going to be tough as well. So let's try to work on that together. I'm going to Command J. Like I said, I always like a different layer. I'm going to try to see what generative fill does. Sometimes that does a good job. It just kind of moves it around. I'm going to try patch. And we're going to go to a spot that's already kind of more flatter. And it doesn't, color doesn't match. It just is taking the, yeah, no, it's going to remove the, this might be one of those things where it's just better to leave it than to play with it, but I don't know. Yeah. Otherwise, sometimes I do is I get the stamp tool, put it at about 20%, 20 or 40, and sometimes you can kind of iron it out. But then sometimes that gets rid of the texture, and then when you go in, so you can see how that has lines on it, and it's taking away that. So we're just gonna X out of that. It's really hard when when you are, if you're buying clothing for your style closet, just be aware of like small little lines and sheens and stuff, because that all matters. And I would not have looked at this dress and thought that that would be an issue, but it's got those tiny little lines. This one here, spot healing, this one might be come off like with spot healing. Oh, that's even that, when you got those little lines, even that's tough. So we're gonna leave it. I am, however, going to get rid of that. All right. All right, so now we're gonna dodge and burn, because that makes a huge difference in the images. Actually, this bigger. Okay, so I've got an action. I dodge and burn, and I like to dodge and burn on black with a extra black and white layer on the top. I don't do anything with that, but I see dodge and burn is basically light and dark, and when you're working on color, it's really kind of hard to see that. So you can really see when you put it in black and white what, you know, what you're working on and what needs to be lightened. So in my brush tool, I want that at 10%. So I hit the 1, and then I'm going to start with white. And so what I'm going to do is go in the hair and kind of on some of these brighter parts in her hair, I'm going to just kind of click on those. Bring in some add some highlights there. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of go over some of the highlights like in her dress. I want to make sure I'm on a soft brush here. Yeah. Add a little bit of highlights in here. And on her fingers, I'm just going to kind of run down each finger. These are kind of in shadow a little bit, but her hand almost looks dirty. Those are the shadows. I'm going to go over her collarbone. And then I'm going to hit X, and then I'm going to do that top part of her collarbone. All right, let's go in here. I'm going to go back on white and just kind of add some highlights. You're not really seeing much as I'm working, but just wait. All right. Sometimes you work too close and it's hard to tell to see what you're doing. So I'm gonna kind of lighten that up. So I'm gonna go in and do a spot on her cheek, on her chin, her lips. Her nose is in shadow, so I'm not gonna really do much with her nose. I'm gonna hit X, and then I'm just gonna go down the side of her cheek. Maybe I'll hit the darker part of her dress. Just kind of accentuate some of those shadows. Her hair's got enough shadow in it, so I don't think I want to do anything with her hair. So I'm just going to toggle this on and off, and you can see how that gives a little bit more dimension. And then what I do is I turn that off, and then I toggle the white. I mean this layer again. You can kind of see how that changes an image quite a bit actually. So then I delete that layer and then flatten the image. And then I have an action that I wrote called Nitty Gritty. That's going to bring out some details in the shadows and clarity. So I love that. If it's too much, maybe I'll take it down to like 60%. Flatten. I'm gonna save. I'll save this at 3, so we also have the other one. think that's pretty much done. So here's the original. Actually, let me put them side by side. That might help. They'll be different sizes since I cropped that one, but you can see how it just comes to life a little bit. If I was, I'll probably end up using this one if I do for a competition, or I'll work on a little bit more, but I will fix this area here. I'm not crazy about that. That might have been able to be fixed and a little bit better and dodge and burn, maybe darken that a little bit, but I'll probably go in and it'll take a long time, so I'm not going to do that right now. But another thing I want to do quick is get my burn tool and just kind of darken this up a little bit. That was where my light source was. So there you go. There's the final. Hope you enjoyed that. And that's the transformation from straight out of camera to fine art. I hope you got a few ideas that you can put in your own portraits. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below, and like and subscribe if you want to see more.